Husan, we can start.
Okay, I guess you guys can see me. So, yeah, I guess so. It's my first time doing in the Telegram, so I hope there won't be any issues. Let me start. So, guys, my name is Husan Mavlonov, and I am currently based in Uzbekistan because of my visa delays. I'm waiting for my visa, but still, I think my knowledge would be beneficial here. So let me see if I can share my. Okay. Share screen. I haven't tried doing the presentation yet. Okay. Let me see if I can open the PDF. A minute. Okay. Minute. Wait a minute. Okay. Wait a minute. So I think, can you guys see my screen? Can anyone
right now? No, we cannot see.
Right now, no, right? Okay. Let me try. So I'm sharing my screen, right? And it's
Yes.
iPad. Can you guys see that?
I can see it. Others, if you can see, please comment the last post below that you can see it so that we can start.
Can you guys see the PDF? Okay. Guys, write in the comments at least. I don't know if you can see that. Yes. Okay. I'm happy. Can you guys see me as well? Write someone in the comments. Okay, that's actually cool. I cannot see myself, so I think we're studying. So here I'm going to talk more about myself first to introduce, and then about some things I did and share my knowledge as well. So the table of contents. So yeah, I'm Husan Mavlonov, and I love lots of things. I love sports. I love research. I am also an U.S. exclusive alumni of Uzbekistan, and I'm just into global and cultural exposure between people and mostly countries. I would say I love sports because since my childhood, I was just interested in doing sports with my brother, with my twin especially. We would run, we would do some competitions together. I mean, crazy competitions. And when I was 15, I remember winning the Asian champion in sports, which is in karate. And I guess I can share some photos as well. So you guys can see some photos from marathon, from Ultimate Man when it was in the summer, and some photos of karate as well. So I would say this particular aspect of my life, which is sports, has played a huge role in my admissions as well. Because I think when college admissions just review your application, they have this philosophy, especially in Harvard, they have this philosophy of a student, especially the guy or the sportsman, have the mindset of competing between each other. And you might not know the difference that much in Uzbekistan, because in Uzbekistan, sports is actually very popular. But in other countries, when there is a huge difference between a guy who does sports and the guy who doesn't do sports, there is a huge difference between that. That's just called competition. They're just into competing with each other when you are into sports. That's why I would advise when you are doing your admissions, I would highly advise putting out your sports achievements so that to show that you are resilient, you are competitive enough to compete with other people. And so other would be, I'm interested in research. So what I will tell the whole story now. I won the Turkiye Burslari, Stipendium Hungaricum. I won several scholarships last year. But I was not satisfied with that much, with the rigor that I wanted to have in my undergraduates. So I decided to go to Turkey to study the Turkish language. And when I studied the Turkish language, the first 2 months was full of searching for internships or research assistantships. And believe me, as a student who haven't even commenced his undergraduate years yet, finding that is one of the hardest things you can do. So I went to some labs, I researched some people, and I met their Professor Sermat Koyuncu. He is the, as you can see, he's with the president of Turkey. He was the winner of TUBA, the Young Scientist Award in 2017. And actually, I've been his research assistant for 4 or 5 months, and we've been doing lots of crazy things. And we recently in January, I've had the opportunity to join the research assistantship between Uzbekistan and Turkey, which is called TÜBİTAK. It's between the Uzbekistan collaboration and Turkey's higher education governments. So I think it was kind of very crucial moment in my life that kind of shaped my interest within research. Because in research, you cannot just say research unless you do the research. You should know your interest within that research. So yeah, I think in research, those things would kind of show the beauty of what I did. And second would be, as I've said, I am the US alumni, I would say, of Uzbekistan. So it's kind of an exclusive group of people that join together to go to some events, to do some events. For example, on the right you can see me with staying with my friends. It was in Nukus, Karakalpakstan. It was a conference between the STEM and arts, and we've actually had the opportunity to meet with lots of people. For example, I met with Stanford undergraduate and graduate. I met with the CEO of IT Park University. I met with the crazy people you can just ever see. That's why I think that opportunity has made my journey of socializing much better. And if there is a question of how can we go to that community, or how can we be the part of it, I would say there were a lot of ways. Like you might have been in a flex student, right? Or you might have been a UGrad student or other things, but some of the scholarships have been cut down by US, in which I was the Education USA scholarship winner, finalist. So I think that was the reason I joined this community. And at the end, if you have any questions regarding this, I can answer that. And then my philosophy would be the US is not the only option. And I would say why. You might ask why it's like in Uzbekistan, it has been so much popularized to go to US to only study, right? And I know so much of my friends who has done that successfully, and so much friends who just spend their 2 years for nothing, for just US. And I think it's one of the most extremely legit harmful things you can ever do in your life. But you might ask why? Because I think when you put yourself in just only US applicant pool, you are competing so much with other people. And the US admissions is not only about presenting yourself, it's about your background, it's about the applicant pool that the university wants to accept. It's about the whole philosophy behind holistic approach. And that holistic approach is kind of the same as bet or gambling, I would say. That's why the US is not the only option, and that doesn't mean that other universities suck, or in other countries you cannot study without scholarships. That's not the case. You can study for a full ride, which is not in US, and still become more successful than people who studied at Harvard. And it depends all on you, I would say. So yeah, it's just don't be dependent on US. That would be my philosophy. And yeah, it's just to prove myself, right? I would say I've been in global campuses. It's in which I named from Tashkent to global campuses. I would say I got in the Knowledge Society, which was full tuition. We studied for 10 months before starting my undergraduates. We studied STEM. I would say we had like focuses every week where we would have brain days, which I call, for example, you meet with one-on-one with a person and you would talk about your interests and another person talk. And over time, when you go to that peak of your interest, you will meet a person who is really experienced in that field. And I was more than lucky to meet with Tesla interns and to meet with people who worked at Google. So that was kind of a way to do my research, actually. And I won Stipendium Hungaricum, Turkiye Burslari, Kaunas University of Technology, which is one of the best universities in Kaunas, I would say, in Lithuania. And I won University of Wisconsin Madison in 2023, but I couldn't go there because I didn't want to commit for the accommodation, and I think it's just I was not ready financially to go there yet. And yeah, it's just the last one would be my option, University of Michigan and Shanghai JiaoTong. But currently, as I'm waiting for my visa yet, I am just in Uzbekistan helping for some other students and just exploring my interests, I would say, in traveling. Because in Uzbekistan, I would say you're not Uzbek if you don't travel locally. If you don't know how Samarkand looks like, or if you don't know how Yangiabad looks like, like the place I was born, you are not Uzbek, because you should first explore locally. You should first know what's Uzbekistan like, and then go abroad and see the global place, I would say. And yeah, it's just some pictures of like how I'm into socializing. It's like, as you can see on the left top, there are my friends that I lived for like 8 months in Turkey, and we've had the best experience and sharing the bedrooms, sharing nights and campings to go together. And I would say it was kind of the best experience in Turkey. And yeah, it's just, as you can see, top left, the bottom, I would say, those are my friends. We went to Iskele, which is like far from the country that I lived. And yeah, it's just, I think it will take even a day if I'm going to describe what I did and what experiences we had together. You can also see the top uni camp in which I was one of the mentors, and I've met crazy people who got into Brown, NUAT, Chicago, Yonsei, Gettysburg, Colby, which was actually great, I would say. And also I'm interested in Zakowat as well, I guess, because I am here with my physics professor, not professor, but like doctor, who is an Arif of Institute of Ion Plasma, and we've been in Zakowat together. And I think those photos will just show how I am into socializing and how just socializing helps you with going forward, I would say. And yeah, I think it was very short, but it was, I guess, useful. And yeah, it's just I'm open for your questions and answers. And before you ask your answers and questions, I would say I am into STEM. I'm into research. I'm into STEM. So if you are more specifically like have questions regarding your own interests as well within STEM, or like finding your research topics, I can help with that as well. I'm open to any questions that you think of. So yeah, I think that would be enough. Okay. Can you guys see me?
We can see you, but not the screen.
Okay, I turned it off right now. Guys, if you have any questions, you can just ask in the comments, I guess. Or you can, as a BK, you can turn on the microphone if anyone requests.
Yes, both can work. Okay. If anyone wants to ask any questions, just raise your hand and we'll give you a microphone, or ask questions in the comments.
Okay. Okay.
We have some questions in the comment section, so we can go through that.
So, guys, I'm not wearing my lenses, so if I'm like bending down, I'm really sorry. Okay, in what school did you study at? Oh, I wanted to actually mention that, but I thought it would be too long, and I didn't want to make that much time. I studied in 5 schools. Like I was born in Yangabat places in Angren, and I studied there for like 2 schools, in which like both of them were public. I studied in Tashkent, in Chilanzar, in 2 schools after moving out from my parents, because my parents didn't allow me to go to Russia to study with a full scholarship. So I asked them, in order to like feel the exposure, or like the exposure of being outside of my comfort zone, I decided to move out to Tashkent from my parents. So I studied in 2 schools, which were Cambridge International School. It's like CIC. It's like lots of people know that already, I guess. And I studied in public school 184. And also, it's like the philosophy behind just like studying only in presidential schools to win scholarships is not always the case, because it's about you. It's not always about the school that you're studying in, I would say. I think that answers the question. Let me see. Why electrical engineering, not mechanical or other types? Okay, I would say I'm actually considering between material science and engineering and electrical engineering, but it's just, I think I'm into lithium-ion batteries, as I've like mentioned when I worked with the Tesla intern. We talked about the batteries that builds the Tesla. That was very important and interesting for me. So before choosing my interest, I would say I did lots of research with people, and I did some brain dates as well. So I think electrical engineering would be for that case. And before you choose your major as well, I would advise you to look up in the internet or YouTube and see if that is really your interest, because spending your time on just something you don't love is worse than just doing something meaningless, I would say. So yeah. Next question. When applying to the university, do you advise by consulting for much to get high chance? Oh, that's a very good question. So the thing is that of course, when we apply to colleges, I'm answering to the third question, by the way. It's asking, do you need agencies, or like you should apply yourself? I would say, of course, you are wise enough to apply yourself, and like when you have time, you can just research and apply. But nowadays, the admissions process has become so much competitive that people don't usually spend their own time to just like apply, Like, for example, I would say you should have someone who's very experienced in applying or admissions, because it would help you to get more scholarships. It would help you to get to be more concise and precise in the admissions table. I got so many consultations from people. I got consultations from Harvard, Abdulaziz. I got consultations from Fahrenheit, Stanford. I also was the winner of Reels contest in freshman, by the way. I got the first place, and yeah, it was actually cool. I got like 6 consultations, but I would advise to reach out to someone who's very experienced in admissions, and in where it's like at Unlock, they have like scholarships for even students who are very competitive enough. And I think that would help you to get your higher chances to get full scholarships. So yeah, if you have 2 options to apply, individually or with people, I would definitely advise to reach out to someone for help. It's must, and it's very crucial, I would say. Okay. What do you think is the good SAT math score for STEM? Common data sets is too low score for top 100 to 300 teams. So guys, I should let you know that usually CDS, the common data set, lies, because like some unis, they actually lie in their common data sets to make their competitive pool, much more competitive. For example, if they have 600 SAT, they would just say 720, so that stronger people would apply and stronger people would make that ratio, right? So I would say it's not as high as you think it is, but as an Asian, as a guy who's into math, we're Uzbeks, come on, like we're the hereditary of Al-Kharazmi. We should know math. Like math is very crucial. That's why I would say, even if it's not that much high, which is like over 700, I would say you should know math for yourself, even if it's not STEM, because math is about everything. Physics is about math. Chemistry is partially about math. Biology is partially about math. And that's why I would advise you to work on your math, even if it's not that much crucial. And for STEM, it's like over 700 is actually very normal for math.
Okay. How did you won the scholarship of UMich and Shanghai JiaoTong? Can you say much about the application process?
Oh, that's very complicated thing actually, because if I'm going to show you the essays I wrote, it's actually very hard to like even see the essays, because when you go through Common App, you can see you can see the Joint Institute, and they will ask for five essays that require at least 300 words in like each of them. I wrote 2,150 words for my, like including my personal statement, supplemental essays, and cap year statement, which was like very time demanding, you know. And when I got into the UMich and Shanghai JiaoTong, I had to apply to Shanghai JiaoTong again, because Shanghai JiaoTong is one of the hardest schools that you can get into in China. And it's like globally, it holds the third place in engineering. So I would say the process is very hard. I would say like it would be better if you reach out to me like in DM. I would then explain, I guess. But yeah, it's just you apply, and through the guidelines you can just apply there. But it's harder than you think, I would say.
I'm trying to understand how research works and why colleges care about it. How would you describe it in simple terms?
Oh, okay. So the question is about how colleges explore your interests, or like know what you're interested in. For that question, I would like to give you the same question. For example, imagine you are sick, right? And you have two doctors that can help you. First is the doctor that says, oh, you know, I studied biology for 10 years. I studied chemistry for 10 years. And I can definitely help you with that. And another doctor is saying, you know, I've been in this field for 5 years. And I think I can help you better because I know what I'm talking about. And I'm more than sure I would choose the second one, because a person who is experienced in doing something would be much more experienced in the future, right? So doing research before college is a great way to show that you are interested in that and that you know what you're talking about, that professors have been seeing your knowledge. That's why I would definitely advise doing research before applying, doing research in your field before applying, because it's even like aside from admissions, if you love it, like why do you think undergraduates should be a barrier on that? Because like even if I'm not studying in undergraduates now, I am doing I'm studying physics, I'm doing the research on myself, I'm like by myself. And I think when you say research, it's wholly about your interest. And yeah, that's a self-explanatory claim, I would say.
Next question would be, what's your IELTS and SAT score?
Oh, okay. SAT score, I got it in 2023. In that time, we didn't have like inflation, so we didn't have cheating scores or something. That's why it was like 1450. It was not that high that time, but that time it was high. But now it's like it's becoming very low. And my math was like 780, and English was the rest. And IELTS was, I had Duolingo, it was 135, and now it's like it's the same as 7.5 IELTS, but in that time it was the same as 8, I would say 8 or 7.5 IELTS. It's not IELTS, by the way. I got Duolingo 135.
Okay, which countries and universities do you advise for mechanical engineering?
You have to research that, I would say. But in my opinion, in the hub for engineering would be China, because China is growing. China is becoming so much popular. China is becoming so much wise in the engineering field. And in mechanical engineering, if you are into internships, if you're into working in that field because you love it, I would say China. But if you are into liberal arts and doing and combining arts with engineering, I would say US. Of course, US might stand out in a way that's like that might offer you more opportunities. But I as I said before, US is not the only option. There are so many other countries that you can just apply. Stipendium Hungaricum has the hardest curriculum you can ever imagine in studying. My friend who studies at Jahangir or Jawahar, it's like he studies at Stipendium Hungaricum, and he, as he said, like the rigor is actually very hard there to study.
Okay. Then did you study 1 year at Turkiye with Turkiye Burslari scholarship and apply for 2 years?
Yeah, it was actually the case because I didn't commit my undergraduate years. I started my year as a Turkish language student. I didn't start my undergraduate years. So when applying to unis, I said I got the Turkiye Burslari and I studied for Turkish and I did some research there. And it was not just meaningless trip like for a year. That's how I would say it was totally okay. I didn't start my undergraduate year.
Okay. Okay, is it slightly okay to get scholarship when my major is mechanical engineering or hard?
Oh, I think I didn't understand the question that well, but I think it's about like if the scholarship is hard to get when you are into engineering. And I would say yes, it is, because engineering is already a hard major to study, and people are very competitive in the country as well. Because for China, it can be hard for China because in China they have Gaokao exams in which they should be very perfectionists in scoring their essays and scoring their tests, right? That's how I would say it depends on the country as well, but it's really hard to get scholarship for engineering because you have to prove your kind of interest within your experience, and it's very crucial, I would say.
Okay. Why did you need a university undergraduate? What are you gonna do in your undergraduate studies in general?
Okay, I think I need undergraduates or like university to find opportunities and like to find internships, because for some internships or like positions in lab, you have to be an undergraduate, in which why I hate that, because without university, I believe I can explore more even. And the thing is that university also provides you with courses that you have already online, like everywhere. But it will give you opportunities to apply for internships. It will give you to explore more opportunities. That's why, yeah, university is actually very crucial in finding new opportunities. And it will depend on the university that you are studying at. That's why the ranking would play a huge role in your major as well. That's why I want you to like research before applying somewhere.
Okay. Could you show programs again, please?
Programs. I'll send you the. I'll send. Okay, I'll show you at the end, I guess.
How competitive Chinese top universities?
So, Chinese top universities are not competitive that much for international students. I mean, like some of the unis, but unis that are like Tsinghua, University of Michigan, Shanghai JiaoTong, and like other unis are very competitive because so many people are applying. But for Chinese residents, it's very competitive because for Chinese people, they have to pass the Gaokao exam, as I've mentioned before. And yeah, it's just like as an international student, if you know Chinese, it's very guaranteed that you have admissions in Chinese universities. But if you know English, it might be a bit harder, but still it will be easier than US. And also someone asked for the programs that I had in my presentation again, I guess. I would say I'll share it a bit later, guys. I cannot go back now, I guess.
Oh, is it possible to get scholarship without SAT?
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course it is. Like you can apply as an optional SAT score, right? And still can get a scholarship within that. but I would say go for the SAT, because it's a gold opportunity to showcase your um, grades and skills, right? That's why, of course, get the SAT. And especially if you are a public school student, your way of getting SAT should be very crucial, because without SAT you cannot prove the rigor that you had at your school and prove the rigor that you've been in your high school years. That's why I would highly advise getting the SAT. And it's not impossible to get the scholarship without SAT. It's still possible.
Okay, why didn't you study in Turkey? What are cons compared to other countries?
Oh, okay. Someone is asking me, like, why didn't you study in Turkey, and like what are the cons? I would say there are a lot of cons and pros. And in Turkey, what I loved was the way of socializing with people, because Turkish people are like very great at like being brothers with each other. It's not the same as in Uzbekistan. And I think I loved it because I traveled there. I like traveled in 3 or 4 cities. I would say Istanbul, Çanakkale, Kepez, Antalya, and yeah, it's like 4. And yeah, traveling was a very crucial thing there. But studying was not as competitive as I thought it would be. But if you're going through for medicine or for other schools, you can, of course, apply for Turkiye Burslari. And like one of my students, Azizbek Zaripov, he got into Koç University, which is the most like prestigious university in Turkey and in the world as well. And yeah, Turkiye Burslari covers $60,000 per year, and also they cover their accommodation, and they also provide him with a stipend as well. That's why I would say it's even better than US. Like you can travel, you can have the highest rigor, you can study at like best places while traveling for so much cheap, I would say, and with a stipend. That's why Turkey is actually great if you know the prestige of the university and apply with a scholarship, because 60K per year is not a joke. Actually, it's even higher than some unis in US, I would say.
Okay. Someone sending a meme there. It's actually funny. How did you conduct university research? How can I do it correctly? And could you recommend some websites?
Yeah, I would say YouTube and ChatGPT. ChatGPT was my friend, but ChatGPT would like always give you the top IV ones, which I hate. I would say go to YouTube and write Crazy Medusa, who's a girl who like helps with US opportunities that you can apply for US unis. If you are looking for global opportunities, just go and type into Google. Like Google is your best helper. Like Google has every answer to your question. Like it's not a matter of not having it or not. It's the matter of like researching it more, and yeah, like and not researching it. Like you have Reddit, you have Google, you have YouTube, you have ChatGPT. Those 4 things can actually help you with finding scholarships and universities, I would say.
How about Hungary?
Oh, I've never been in Hungary before, but I like got the full scholarship. But as my friend said, the rigor is actually great there, but the stipend was not that much enough for them. Yeah, if you have enough funds, you can go for Hungary and study for a great scholarship, and like study for a great rigor as well. But still, you will need some fund for Hungary, which is like less better than than Turkey, I would say.
Okay. What Chinese university do you suggest?
I would say it's like research. Research, I mean, like, I don't know about your major, right? If it's about engineering, I would highly advise to go for the same uni as mine. But I should let you know that the University of Michigan Shanghai JiaoTong has broken the collaboration, and I think I was the last cohort and like going between UMich and Shanghai JiaoTong, because like the border between China and US is becoming so much thick, and I also believe that in the future ZKU and NYU Shanghai might have some problems within applying. That's why apply for some Chinese universities that are actually great at your own major. And if it's possible, learn Chinese language, because some Chinese universities might seem good outside when it comes to English majors, but when it comes to studying, they actually suck, some of them. Like professors cannot even like explain that in English, which is like very bad, you know. That's why if you have the opportunity to study Chinese, then study Chinese and then apply. If not, apply for the most competitive ones, because that's the way you can guarantee if the place is actually right for you.
Okay. So SAT test optional for STEM major means fail. Only with good essays and high GPA.
SAT test option doesn't mean fail if you are studying at presidential school or like IB offering schools, right? That's why for STEM, I would say it will depend on your GPA and on your research, on your experience. It's the same as arts and some other places, but the, STEM is more into math, I would say. That's why SAT is still crucial. SAT is still crucial, but that doesn't mean you cannot get a scholarship. So yeah, it's just correlation doesn't mean causation, right? If it's like very correlated with your SAT, the low acceptance rate, it doesn't mean it's always because of your SAT. You can just get a full ride scholarship without an SAT. No one is guaranteeing that, and no one is saying that it's impossible to get a scholarship without SAT.
Okay. You got into Madison, so I heard you should apply directly, not via Common App, or is it true?
I applied through Common App though. I remember applying through Common App, but I know why I got in. Like some people don't know, right? But I think I know why I got in, because I learned STEM course there. I was the finals in Education USA, and when we had an interview, they said that they appreciated the effort that I put in the course a lot. I got the certificate there, and they loved me as a student, but I couldn't go there because I was kind of novice in the admissions field, you know? Like I couldn't provide for my accommodation though, but I think if I would go back in time, I would definitely go there to like Madison, because it's actually a great university for engineering.
Okay. Can we get into Chinese universities if we don't know Chinese language?
Yeah, of course you can get in, but as I told you before, if it's like an English major, it's actually you should be very careful with that, because some universities say they are great at English majors, but when you go there, they actually suck in just communication in English, which is very, it's like, which is very weird. That's why I would say without Chinese, of course you can get to best places, but you should be sure about your choice and apply for the most and hard the unis, because that's the only way you can guarantee that only strong people are going there and only strong people are with you together, and that they can guarantee that they know English for the sake of being prestige as well.
China or Turkey for economics major?
Economics major, I think China would be still better, because China is actually growing and it's developing a lot. That's why I would say China. For Turkey, it depends on the uni and yourself, but generally China is better at economics, I would say, because HQST, Hong Kong, and some other unis are really good for economics. We should admit that.
So I want to pursue law later, maybe US law school. Is studying in Asia or other countries worse than having bachelor's in US? And which unis would you recommend? I have IELTS 7.5, essays probably will be over 1,400, and 6 ECs and internship.
In law, I would say US is kind of quirky when it comes to law, because you cannot apply for just a law school. You should study the pre-law. You should study the something that's like correlated with government, right? That's why US is actually very hard when it comes to applying for a law schools. That's why, yeah, it wouldn't matter that much if you're applying for a law school a bit later. It's like even if you are studying at Asia, because it depends on what you are doing during your undergraduates, right? Because as a guy who's like studying, for example, let's make an example. I'm studying at Uzbekistan University, like law, right? And someone is studying at the US, like law, but they're not as competitive as me, because I would say like I would be much more eligible to get into law school because of my own self, not just because of the uni that I'm studying. That's why don't be that much dependent on the uni. Yeah, it's just it doesn't matter that much when you are studying your bachelor's, I would say. That's why for law school it doesn't matter that much. And I'm sorry for mumbling. The question was actually hard.
Okay. How did you improve your SAT score? How long did you study for SAT?
Oh, I studied for SAT for like 2 years, I would say, because I remember studying paper SAT at Hasan Hoca, and we've been in Kyrgyzstan and like took our SAT, which is because in Uzbekistan we didn't have any test centers, because then we had to go to Kyrgyzstan, and then I studied the digital SAT course, like self-studied, and I studied at SAT Tashkent as well, and I got like 1450. I studied like overall for like over 1.5 years. I know it's a lot, but during that time it was not that easy, I would say, because like we shifted to digital SAT from paper, like, and it was not that easy.
Okay. What activities you did to apply or project?
Oh, I did a lot of activities. Like as I've mentioned, I don't think I can like be that much specific now, because it's like so much people are waiting and like asking for questions. But like if you are going to reach out through DM, I can definitely help with that. I mean, like some specific questions are private, you know. That's why I would say, yeah, it's just reach out through DM. I can definitely help with that.
I meant pre-law before law school.
Okay, yeah, it's just as I said before. Yeah, for pre-law, it doesn't matter that much. But I would advise going for Turkey, because Turkey is actually a place of politics. When we've been there, even though I was not that much interested in politics, I had to be interested, because like about Erdogan, about Ataturk, like I would see the image of Ataturk in every place I go, like on the bus, um, on the some foods as well, like some food centers. They would put the photo of Ataturk because they love so much Ataturk. And because of that love, people are into politics in Turkey. That's why I would advise like going to Turkey for politics. It's actually like law. It's actually like great.
Competition is important.
Of course, it is important, because if you are not competitive, then you don't grow, right? Like as lots of people say, it's like from your childhood you should be competing with people, even in sports, even in academically, even anything you do, you should be competing with people, because without competition you can just kill yourself in a way that's like mentally you will be just so much drowned. That's why competition is the key for everything, I would say.
Okay, would you recommend to study mid-level units for US top 500, majoring in mechanical engineering? How likely I can get scholarship with GPA 4 and
Oh, that's actually a bit of very hard question to answer, because I don't know about your extracurriculars. And if your SAT is 1300, like, or closer to that, I would definitely advise to go for optional SAT, because it's better to not to show your SAT than showing a bit of low scores like that. For engineering, you should be kind of very interested in STEM and math, and if you cannot show it through your SAT, it's very hard to get in.
what books or website did you use?
Oh, I used College Panda. I used lots of like websites. I used Anki Droid, which was the lifesaver, because I learned new words there, because I learned new tips for SAT as well. Because in even YouTube, I like Abdulaziz, like the Harvard guy. He helped me a lot in scoring for math scores, and like I met him first on his YouTube videos, and I think, yeah, it's just YouTube, Anki Droid, College Panda, and some other resources are really great. I would like definitely advise to reach out to SH Tashkent, like to know who better answer.
Can I get full scholarship if I have high GPA and SAT but not good ECs?
Um, that's kind of hard to say because it still depends on your ECs. You know, like if your extracurriculars are just MUNs and like so much meaningless stuff, it's really meaningless to get a scholarship because when someone gives you a scholarship, the institution pays you for that. And why would they pay you if you are not competitive in extracurriculars or something that you do for the sake of your own interest? Like the question is so open that like I cannot answer that exactly because for some places you might need only theoretical knowledge. For example, for physics, you should be very good with your GPA and SAT, but ECs might not matter much. That's why it's a very open question, I would say.
Is there any way to apply Europe without studying foundation year?
I think, like, as far as I know, no, that are like hard, but like as I got in Kaunas University of Technology, they didn't require foundation year because it was a private university. For private universities, for some, you can go without foundation year, but if you're going to Germany, Italy, I would definitely advise getting a foundation year. And I think someone made a post about getting scholarship at Europe without a foundation year, but as far as I know, no, you cannot. It's actually hard.
Do you know any projects to participate in which will be useful for portfolio for mechanical engineering? Okay. For mechanical engineering, I would say, yeah, you can do lots of stuff. Like you can even, it depends on your interest, you know. Like you can even start up something at your garage. Like seriously, you can open the book by Richard Feynman and read about physics and learn how things are built and build those things by yourself. For example, in garage, you can learn how to make the pendulum, which is like when something just like, it's like a very unpredictable thing of moving things. That's why it's just, you can do that on your own. But if you're asking for opportunities, I would definitely advise to go for universities that can offer some opportunities for high school students if you're a high school student. And if not, go to ChatGPT, go to YouTube and search from there, because I'm more than sure you can find from there. And like, if you have any questions, you can just reach out to my DM and I can help you with that. Okay. What do you recommend when it comes to essays?
Yeah, essays are a very vague viewpoint because it depends on your background. For example, like I know some people that are not so good in essays but very great at extracurriculars, and that's the reason they fail. And because essays are the way to kind of talk with the admissions officer, right? And if you suck at essays, how would you expect them to understand you? Like, if you cannot describe yourself, how would you expect them to understand a person who they haven't met before? That's why essays are the way of communicating with admissions officers, and essays are very vague in just describing that. Essays are very crucial.
Okay, I heard Ole Miss, Southern Miss, okay, Arizona and Alabama.
Okay, those schools are very good if you have over 20K to provide, and if you have a good background in financially, because they will ask for over 20K fund, they will ask for money, and if you can get, it's like there will be two ways to go there. First would be asking your parents, second would be AUF. If you're asking from your parents, then you should have a really good fund and history in order to get the visa as well. Because I know some of my friends who got into Ole Miss with 98% scholarship, because that's the highest scholarship they provide, and still get rejected from visa. And it's very like doable. That's why you can either go to AUF or fund yourself if you are rich enough, let's say. It requires over 20K.
So if my SAT is lower than 1400, I should go for optional. I'll apply to engineering.
Yes, of course, that's the case. If it's like lower than 1400, I would definitely advise to be on the optional side, because for engineering, you should be competitive in math as well.
Are there any universities we can apply in March?
In March, like you can apply to local universities as well. In March, you can apply to some state schools in US, but for scholarships, I think nearly no unis can provide funding like during March, because like usually it's in January, and the earlier you apply, the more the like chance to get a scholarship. That's why I want you to like know that like it's better to apply as early as you can to get a scholarship and as prepared as possible. You get any help you want, you get any help you can, but apply as early as possible, because that's the difference between getting the scholarship and not. Applying late is meaningless. It's the same as saying, I'm coming late, may I just enter? And how would you just expect a person to be kind towards you if you are already late? It's when it comes to like even scholarships, they cannot provide that. First come, first serve, I would say.
Okay. Which post you mean? Oh, it's not me, I would say. Oh, which post I mean? I think if I'm going to find this post, I'll definitely let you know, but you shouldn't be dependent on that. You should research and ask ChatGPT as well for a deep research if you can still go to Europe without a foundation year. Okay. If I have an SAT of 1500 plus, an IELTS score of 7 and GPA 4, can I get into?
Okay, look, someone asked like they have perfect stats and if they can still get into IB. It's not an easy question to answer, because some people who had perfect stats, they couldn't get into IB schools because of their just background. I cannot say that actually. I would say I can only say that you have a higher chance, but I cannot be the one who can just say yes or no. It's high. You will have higher chance, but it doesn't mean you can get in. Your essays should be really strong for those stats. You should be really deserving person in order to apply with so much high stats in extracurriculars. And Ivy schools are very competitive when it comes to being very honest in your application, I would say, and having high stats and knowing how to be deserving to have that high stats with extracurriculars. That's why I cannot be that much sure about my answer here.
Okay. If my major is cybersecurity, is it also the same?
Cybersecurity is a part of engineering. Yes, of course. It's like when it comes to coding, you should be really crazy in math and cybersecurity. So yeah, it's the same. You cannot. It's hard to get a scholarship if you have an SAT or less than 1400.
Which universities you recommend from Bay or UAE? Not top one.
Oh, like some of the questions are being very specific. I would advise like researching them by yourself first, and then reach me out if you need any help. I can definitely help you with that. But I can like some questions are very specific. I should research for that, and I don't think people will be waiting for that.
Okay, what's your attitude towards a gap year?
Gap year, I love gap years. Who doesn't love them? Gap years is actually like a best way to chill, best way to do anything. Like in my gap year, I did so much things. I traveled, I did the research, I had the opportunity to be with my family. I've been the marathon runner. I did a lot of things, and gap year actually helps you to know through yourself. Like gap year is actually the perfect way to explore your interest, to know where you're going, to know what you're doing with your life. And gap year, I have a very positive attitude towards a gap year. And as long as it's like not very long, like for 3 years, I would say definitely gap year can help you to polish your thoughts, I would say.
Bro, where can I see scholarships from University in Korea Computer Science?
Google. It's like some questions are very specific. You can see that from Google, from YouTube. Scholarships like all of them can be found from channels that help you with scholarships, and from YouTube as well. So yeah, it's Google. Google is the answer to most of your questions.
And stats are only one part of your application. It's just to check the recommended boxes. Yes, it's right. Is it difficult to win a full right to coach with SJTU for 1,200? I think it's nearly impossible to win a scholarship with like 1,200 SJT for coach, because coach only gives 5 full ride scholarships to international students, and it was Azizbek was very lucky to get that. He applied through Turkiye Burslari. He got the fund from Turkiye Burslari and Koç University, and yeah, he's not paying for like 67K per year. Yeah, it's nearly impossible, I would say. Okay, I think we're done.
Guys, if you have any like extra questions, or like if some of the questions have been in just the in the webinar chat, I cannot see that because I'm just talking, right? And in order to open, I think I should close the paste and copy paste that into comments of Unlock. If not, we can just grab everything up and then finish. His mic is working, I guess. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, guys. My internet has broken, I guess. I think we're done. If you guys have any questions, we can.
If you have any questions, please go on to the last post. If not, we will be wrapping up the session. Sam,
Yeah.
so can we finish, or you have something else to say?
Yes. If you have any questions, just let me know. Yeah, it's like, may I re-enter? Can you guys wait for like 2 seconds, please? I'm re-entering. Okay.
Yes, of course. We'll be waiting.
Okay. I think, yeah. Can you guys see me? So yeah, I think it's done. Thank you guys for joining. If you have any questions, additional questions, just let me know. And yeah, someone asked, own project is important. Own project, yes, of course it is important, because it will show your passion, it will show your interest, and it will show that you are so much passionate enough to start it by yourself. And when it's actually called passion project. And yeah, passion projects are very crucial when you're applying for IVs, especially because you will just show your interest with the just like self step towards something you love. That's why, yeah, it's very crucial, I'd say. I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining. And if you have any questions left, you can just type that in the comments. If not, we can just end. Thank you guys joining that webinar. It was my first time doing it in Telegram, and I'm sorry for some technical issues. I didn't know that. That's why thank you guys for joining, and it was actually a great pleasure.
Asadbeke, I think we're done.
Okay, we are finishing, guys.